Good evening and welcome to episode 5 of God's Roadmap. We've been going through the Bible and actually my testimony about what happened during my conversion to the Lord and hitting some scriptures that were really profound to me. And we're just getting ready to get into the meat and potatoes of this book after we finish up my testimony, but that's going to be a few more days as I'm taking just a little bit of time. 4 pages today, and we're going to just review that because there's a lot that happened right there at the very beginning. And this day that I'm going to talk about today is one of the most profound days of my life. Now, when I gave my life to the Lord, I told him I would do whatever he wanted. I hated my life, and I meant that. I was going to do whatever he asked, and he's caused me to go well beyond myself. And I think yesterday I'd gone way past my empty zone because when I went back and looked at the tape yesterday, I know I was tired, and it was pretty slow. I'm sorry I didn't have much energy for you last night, but I have been working hard at work and trying to do a lot of things all at the same time. One is losing some weight too. So here we go. I talked about giving my life to the Lord and the victories that I had. And so we're going to begin with this. As for me and my addiction to anything but the Lord, then became nearly dead in my life. The old man was put to death with Christ, and I did raise in newness of life. What Darlene tried to do, or get me to do, through much pressure and persuasion, I was powerless to do. The day I gave my life to the Lord, he gave me the power for victory from bondage of sin in my life. I found out the hard way to not go back down the road or that road anymore. You can't dabble around once you quit because the Lord will make it abundantly clear you can't, okay? So, I found out the hard way not to go back down that road anymore. Funny how it seems that we learn the best when we learn the hard way. Like God's word, isn't it good enough? I tried to persuade my friend to quit, but he just got further into drugs using crystal meth, and he would tell me that he had freedom in Christ to continue doing drugs. But you and I both know that that's a lie from Satan himself. He led his brother-in-law to his Lord with that doctrine, and he continued to drink like a fish until he died from cirrhosis of the liver. My old neighbor now suffers from brain damage and has to take prescription medication to keep from hallucinating. Pray that he will one day be broken and just on the yoke of Jesus. The week after I wrote this, he died from an overdose of cocaine. He wasn't found for 2 days. How sad an ending. He was set free. He did it his way all the way to the end by himself. He left everything to pursue his addiction. My walk with the Lord had been growing during that first year, just as my young daughter was growing in Darlene's womb. I started reading my new Bible at lunch, feeling led to read the Gospel of John to start. My friend told me that the same Bible teacher, Chuck Missler, that we had been listening to in our carpool had a tape-a-week ministry. He could have been anywhere in any chapter of the Bible, but the week that I joined, he was in John chapter 1. Chuck said the Jewish rabbis said that coincidence is when God is working undercover. Well, God was working undercover there then because he directed my heart to the point where he was ready to supply the teaching. So the week I started reading through the book of John, I joined that week, tape a week tape ministry, and got my first chapter of John from Chuck Missler. That was awesome. And God used Chuck many other times, well, 2 other times, just exactly like that. Along with the Bible study, my friend Kenny Owens told me that God was going to give me a son. And it took me, along with that Bible study, my friend Kenny Owens took me the same Kenny Owens said, I have to rewrite this, excuse me. Kenny Owens took me to a Bible study. He was the one who told me that God was going to give me a son. So he took me to a lunchtime Bible study. I'm gonna rewrite this right now. 1 second. So what I meant to say was, along with that Bible study, my friend Kenny Owens, the friend that told me that God was going to give me a son, took me to a lunchtime Bible study. I was blessed by wonderful teaching there for 7 years, and I remained at McDonnell Douglas. The 7 years that I remained at McDonnell Douglas is what I meant to say, which was taken over by Boeing. And I'm wearing my Boeing shirt here. The most dramatic thing that happened that first year was still yet to come. On January the 17th, 1994, which was midterm of the pregnancy, Darlene gave birth on May the 22nd, so we had February, March, April, May. All right, so we had 4 months and 1 week more till the baby was born. So almost exactly in the middle of that pregnancy was January the 17th, 1994, which was the halfway point in Darlene's pregnancy. The Lord literally rocked my world. I started to work at 4:30 in the morning and found a large mess on the floor where my toolbox was. I immediately got down on my hands and knees and started cleaning up the mess. When I was about done, I heard God speak to me audibly saying, Who will give of themselves? Can I get that out of my mouth? Who will give of themselves sacrificially to stop this chain of events? Who will give of themselves sacrificially to stop this chain of events? The voice was so audible that I said out loud, I will, Lord, thinking that he was talking about the end times. It seemed like some of the precursors of the end times, as described in the Bible, were unfolding right in front of my eyes while I was in California. Almost right away, I started thinking, I just thought I heard God speak to me. And then I thought, but it was so audible. Anyway, I was done with the cleanup and I started to get up off the floor. I stumbled forward and grabbed a hold of a pole, thinking that I had lost my balance. And I continue to get up, and I realized that we were having a terrible earthquake. It was rocking. I thought the aircraft hangar might collapse, and I watched the building helplessly until the quake stopped. It was the Northridge earthquake, which was described by the National seismological survey as one of the worst natural disasters in U.S. history. All doubt about God speaking to me were now gone from me. But what did it mean? I pondered that often, as I still ponder it today. I feel that undertaking this book is just one step in the process that the Lord has been taking me through because of my "I will, Lord" response. I will. I said, I will. Who will give themselves sacrificially? I said, I will, Lord. And so another thing that happened that year was that Kenny Owens and I spent a lot of time marveling at what God was doing in my life. I told him when we had the ultrasound of our baby that Darlene was going to have a girl. I told him that God had honored my prayer for Darlene to have a girl. 2 days later, Kenny came back and told me, God still told me he's going to give you a son. I didn't even really think about that again during that time. Darlene and I were so blessed by this miracle of birth that we weren't even thinking about another one. 1 month after Sarah was born, we started going to Sea Ridge Community Church in Laguna Hills, California, which was a Southern Baptist church, although we didn't know that. It was a community church, and it was contemporary praise and worship, not like the Southern Baptist church that we belong to in Georgia. And was the little sister of a mega church, Saddleback Community Church, pastored by Rick Warren. About a month later, Darlene gave her life to the Lord, and we decided that this was where the Lord wanted us. We had done some work with the youth when I was young. I had done some work with the youth when I was young. I felt that the Lord wanted me to prepare myself for service in that ministry. We got involved in a small group ministry there, and we were both discipled by our small group leaders. It was during the first year at Sea Ridge, on a day that we had returned back from a funeral in Ohio, that Darlene thought that she was pregnant again. The test came back negative, and I wasn't even thinking about another child, but I sure was disappointed when that negative test came back. I prayed that day for a son for the first time because of that disappointment. The next month, she was pregnant with my son, Tommy. We called him Thomas Nathan. We went in for a 10-week checkup. The doctor said the ultrasound showed Darlene was 2 weeks further along than she should have been. That meant that she conceived on the day that I prayed the prayer for my son. His test must have been accurate because Tommy was born within a day of when he said he would be. Just as a side note about the names of the children, we named Sarah after her grandmother, who had the middle name Elizabeth. Sarah just happened to go well with it. Both Sarah and Elizabeth were had miracle babies in the Bible, which we weren't thinking about when we gave Sarah the name Sarah Elizabeth. But Sarah had a miracle baby at the age of 90, and his name was Isaac. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? The three patriarchs of the faith. So Sarah had Isaac, and Elizabeth had John the Baptist. She was also barren. And in her old age, she gave birth, and that was assigned to Mary. Tommy, or Thomas Nathan, got his middle name from his uncle because it went well with the name Thomas, and he was my favorite uncle, and Uncle Nate. But Thomas Nathan means gift from God. He wasn't going to get my middle name, Leroy, because I got teased a lot. And besides, Leroy means the king, and there can only be one king in the household at a time, and I am he. And the Lord is the king of our house, actually. And so they both were very much a gift from God to me. And Sarah has been very verbal from the very beginning. At the age of 2, she told a Muslim woman who we had talked to for maybe about a minute, "I know one thing." And the woman said, "What's that?" And Sarah responded, "Jesus died and rose again." And the woman was mouthing back the words that Sarah was saying, and nearly bit her lip to shut her mouth. Out of the mouth of a babe came words much more powerful than her father had. After 2 years of Christian education courses there at the church, I felt the Lord was telling me this was a time to start serving in the youth ministry there. And that's where I'm going to stop today. It's already been 16 minutes. I'm trying to keep these short and to the point. But will you give of yourself sacrificially to make a difference in this world? God said, who will give of themselves sacrificially? He didn't say, would you, Tom? He said, who will? You're who? Who will? Will you give of yourself sacrificially to make a difference in this world? To stop the chain of events that are leading people in your life down the road to hell? I hope that you'll make a difference in their lives. I hope that I'll make a difference in some lives. Together, we can stir people up in the Lord to make a commitment to Him, to serve them with all their heart, all their soul, all their mind, all their strength, and then to love the neighbor as themselves. All right? So I pray that you'll have a blessed night tonight, and that you will be invigorated to make a difference in somebody else's life. In Jesus' name, God bless you, and have a blessed night